exclusive for you. Joe Parker, who's their interim champion, has to challenge against Usyk. He's put a letter into yesterday stating that he's asked him for an extension period because he's injured. Joe Parker will either fight as champion if Usyk vacates the title, or he will fight Usyk.
So as you heard from Frank Warren himself, you know, he said something that we already knew, right? The WBO has ordered Oleksandr Usyk, the undisputed champion in the heavyweight division, to fight the interim WBO champion Joseph Parker. And a lot of people think he's kind of reluctant to do so. And the whole time Frank Warren was talking, all I heard was yada 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 yada. Usyk is injured. I'm just saying, you know, it doesn't really matter to me who he fights, to be honest. But, you know, let's be fair. Joseph Parker deserves a title shot. But will he get it? Or is Usyk ducking the smoke? Like y'all say, Bivol is ducking Beterbiev. You see what consistency gets you in trouble? And we gonna hold you accountable.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? Welcome back to your favorite boxing news channel, Dr. Boxing Talk, and we are back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, man. I know what time it is. A doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. But before we get to it, let's go ahead and smack that like button. Let's do it together. Appreciate you. That really helps us to keep going and growing on this YouTube platform. But check this out. So we have Frank Warren divulging in the situation with Oleksandr Usyk and his fighter, Joseph Parker, you know what I'm saying, the heavyweight division. Speaking of his fighter, gosh dang, heavy, bro. Queensberry and Frank Warren got the heavyweight division on lock, man. Check out these fighters. Yeah, all of these fighters are with Queensberry, man. In fact, the top 5 ranked fighters in the WBO are with Queensberry, man. So when Usyk is kind of anticipated to fight Joseph Parker or not fight Joseph Parker, it doesn't really matter, because let's say what happens with Frank Warren. He's right. If Usyk doesn't fight Joseph Parker and he's stripped of the WBO, and the WBO decides to with President Gustavo Oliveira, if he decides to elevate Joseph Parker and he has to fight the #1 fighter that's ranked in the WBO, you see that that's also a Queensberry fighter. You see what I'm saying? And you see that the next 5 are also Queensberry fighters. So it's just crazy, because whether it's Moses Atama, who's ranked #1 against Joseph Parker, it's Queensberry. Yeah. If Filip Hrgović wins his next fight, you know, against what's his name? My bad, David Adelaide, it's Queensberry. And if he loses, David Adelaide still with Queensberry. I'm telling you, the only Queensberry fighters, the only heavyweights that aren't Queensberry fighters is AJ Wilder and Usyk, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's some more like F.A. Jabba, Martin McCauley, but you get the point that I'm making. It's like all these guys, Zayla Zhang, Filip Hrgović, all these guys are with Wait, Filip Hrgović? Huh? Yeah, man, I actually almost forgot Filip Hrgović. He left Matchroom. I think he joined Queensberry. His first fight was against Joe Joyce with Queensberry, right? If I'm not mistaken. I almost forgot that. So yeah, it's really wild that all these heavyweights are affiliated or associated with Queensberry, man. He really has a stronghold. And in addition to that, with Moses Atama, even if Moses Atama gets upset, which I don't think he will against Dillian White, well, if he does, it doesn't matter, because Dillian White's also with Queensberry. So Frank Warren, you know, they say the WBO is for what Bob orders with Top Rank, you know, Bob Arum. Well, they're going to have to change that to WFO, what Frank orders. You know, it's crazy what's going on, man. You know, so shout out to Frank Warren. He's doing his thing, you know, with the heavyweight division. I ain't knocking Frank, but I will say this, though, you know, I wonder what people will say with this narrative about Oleksandr Usyk being injured and postponing the fight with Joseph Parker, potentially, right? I mean, Frank Warren talked about it too. He said that he already acknowledged that Oleksandr Usyk does not have to fight Joseph Parker as far as his legacy and what he wants to do. If he wants to vacate the belt, he can vacate the belt, which I wouldn't mind, to be honest, because while I do think Joseph Parker deserves the title shot based off of merit and the fact that his position is a WBO interim champion, I'm not really sure, no disrespect to Joseph Parker, but I don't really think he has a chance against Usyk, especially considering the fact that, you know, he has losses to Anthony Joshua, Dillian White, and he got stopped by Joe Joyce. Now, I know that was a long time ago and he's on the current streak now, but even his streak, if we're being honest, his streak is kind of suspicious. I don't want to say fraudulent, but it is very suspicious, right? I mean, he beat Deontay Wilder, who's a shovel himself, has almost 50 fights. I think he has 49 fights at the time he fought Joseph Parker. I think that was his 48th fight, if I'm not mistaken. You know, maybe his 47th fight, something like that. But he was 38, 39 years old. So he's an older fighter, and he got out that trilogy with Tyson Fury. He never was the same, right? So we'll give him credit for that on his record, you know, to build up his resume from a name standpoint and a legacy standpoint. But Deontay Wilder wasn't the same bronze bomber, and Joseph Parker beat him, yeah. And then he went on to fight the 42-year-old Zhang, and we saw what Ajit Cabello did to Zhang shortly after. You know, he stopped him in like 5 or 6 rounds, if my memory serves me correctly. And you know, and let's be honest, you know, Joseph Parker got dropped twice, and it could have went either way. I believe he won by majority decision against Zhang, which I'm not knocking. Zhang's a good fighter, you know, and Joseph Parker's a good fighter too, but. You know, these are the streak. This is part of the streak that he's on, right? And then after that, he fought Martin Bakole off of a 24-hour notice, not even a full 48 hours. So it was like a day and some change. You saw how sloppy Bakole was. He was in no shape to fight. You know, even talked to his trainer Billy Nelson. He told you too. He said, "Man, we weren't even on the same continent. I was at my home country of Scotland, I believe, and Martin Bakole was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They weren't even together throwing punches since his last win against Jared Anderson. So how much credit can we really give him for beating these fighters? You know, there's always some type of asterisk by it. That's not my fault. I'm not making the fights. That's him and his team, you know, or Queensberry. So, you know, I just think that we'll see what Joseph Parker really has. And that'd be nice to see it against Usyk. I'm not against it, you know. I'm actually for it. If he does deserve the shot. But if you're asking me, do I think he beats Usyk? I would say definitively and emphatically, hell no. I don't think so. You know, for me personally, I think Ajit Cabello has a better chance to beat Usyk, and I'd be more interested in that fight. But as far as Usyk being injured, I believe him. I think he's injured, you know, and I think that he wants to recover, and he's not in a rush to get back in the ring. He's an older fighter too, 37 years old, 38 years old. So he's a little older. He doesn't seem to be slowing down, but he's a little older. So, you know, you have to take care of your body. But I will say this though, like I said in the intro, if you think that Bivol is trying to stall out Beterbiev or trying to use the injury as an excuse, then you have to apply the same type of, you know, critique here, right? So if Bivol is ducking smoke by pretending to be injured, then Usyk is ducking smoke by pretending to be injured from Joseph Parker, right?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, you see how foolish that sounds? But it's not foolish when you like or dislike somebody, right? You know, that's the thing about these narratives that people kick. That's a problem with the boxing landscape and the boxing fandom, right? We are, I'm talking about us as a whole, not me individually or you watching this video individually, but us as a whole. It's seldom that we are consistent and we apply the same amount of pressure or energy across the board. You know, one situation will say, oh, he's injured, he had surgery on his back, Dmitry Bivol, oh, he's only doing it conveniently because he's ducking Beterbiev. But then Oleksandr Usyk, who's been ordered to have a purse bid with Joseph Parker, nobody in their right mind would say that Usyk is ducking Joseph Parker, right? I mean, I don't think so. Maybe you would say that. I don't know. But anyway, you know, but if you are going to say Bivol is ducking, then you have to say that Usyk is ducking as well. And I don't think you're foolish enough to say that. So what I'm saying is that Usyk, I think he should fully recover. He deserves that, you know, just like any other boxer that's injured. They deserve to give themselves the best opportunity to win. And if Usyk's going to fight Joseph Parker, I would have Usyk. I don't think he's going to. I feel like he's gonna vacate the belt because unfortunately I just don't think too many people are interested in that fight. Like I said, once again, based off of ranking and position and off of merit and what he has, the interim title, Joseph Parker definitely deserves a fight. But that doesn't mean I have to be intrigued by it. I'm not intrigued by that fight at all. You know what I'm saying? I'd be more intrigued with Joseph Parker versus the winner of Filip Hrgovic and David Adeleye, especially if it's Filip Hrgovic, or Joseph Parker versus the winner of Dillian White and Moses Atama. Because if it's Moses Atama, then I think he could get a really good test with Joseph Parker. And then if it's Dillian White, then Joseph Parker has an opportunity to avenge one of his losses. Perfect. But I know Joseph Parker and his team, they want to get a title shot, which they deserve. You know what I'm saying? So y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Are you interested in Usyk versus Parker? Do you think Usyk is faking the injury or just trying to prolong the inevitable so he doesn't get stripped? Well, let me know what you think about that, man. I don't think so. I think Usyk is legitimately injured. And when he recovered, first of all, I think the WBO is going to grant him that extension that he's looking for. But I'm not sure if he gets the extension that he'll actually fight Joseph Parker. I think he's still going to weigh his options. You know what I'm saying? And his options are what? You know, not really interesting to me either, like the trilogy with AJ or trilogy with Fury. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that at all. But if he was going to fight like somebody like a Ajit Cabello, that would really pique my interest. Or even like, let's say a Martin Bakole. But Bakole, he would have to get on a winning streak. You know what I'm saying? He'll have to beat at least one person before I would be interested in him seeing. I'll be interested in seeing him fight against Usyk, because that draw with the Jogba wasn't enough in my personal opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.